Yo nerds, and welcome back to Nerds of a Feather. I'm Finn, and I don't really have any way to elongate this intro. You've all read the title, you already know what we're getting into. Welcome to the world of the Blockbuster game. Released in 2019 and made by Big Potato Games, the whole package is contained in this real nice box that looks like a plastic VHS cover. I mean, look at this, it's amazing. Inside we got a buzzer, 260 total cards, a board fashioned after a store parking lot, and a nice Blockbuster sign. Ours shipped upside down. You know what? I think I found out why Blockbuster went out of business. This insignificant manufacturing error crippled their stocks years in advance. Why don't we crack open this instruction manual and see how to play? This raises less questions than it probably should. Players are split into two equally sized teams. Once the players are situated on each side of the buzzer, a head-to-head card is selected containing categories such as movies that start with W, movies with talking animals, and movies included in the Book of Joshua. I don't get it either, that's just what it says. One player says a movie that fits that category, hits the buzzer, and the other player has 15 seconds to respond with another film.
Side notes!
You can't name multiple films from one franchise.
End of side notes!
Teammates can help out the other person in the hot seat by silently miming a film to give them inspiration. If a player can't think of a film by time 15 seconds are up, the player who last said a film draws 6 movie cards. They have to pick 3 cards for themselves and give their 3 unwanted cards to the player who also took part in the head-to-head competition. With their goal to have their teammates guess as many films on the board as possible, 1 card is placed onto each category laid out on the board. 1 word. You only have a single word as a hint. You can say it as many times as you want, you just can't use more than 1, and also can't pick a word in the movie's title. Quote it. Simply use a quote from the film. If you don't know a specific quote, pick one that sounds like it could be in the film. And act it. Put your theater training to the test and try to mime the film without saying any words. And if you don't have any theater training, don't feel bad. You'll probably look ridiculous no matter what.
Bonnie and Clyde!
The player that won the head-to-head round holds down the buzzer for a bit, giving them 30 seconds to try and clear their side of the board in any order they want. And if that team does clear their side before time runs out, they can attempt to steal the cards from their opponent's side, like little rats. After the head-to-head loser finishes their turn, another player from each team starts a new round, and the cycle continues, until one team can get 1 movie from each genre. Horror, action, comedy, sci-fi and fantasy, drama, all-time classics, animation, and family. Plus, if a team can get 3 cards from one category, they can discard those cards to steal 1 card from their opponent. At least I think that's all the rules. This instruction booklet is really cryptic. Ooh, sodomy. Now on the whole, this game is really good. Every time I've played it, there was plenty of fun to be had. Whether you're trying to think of something from a film you haven't seen or drawing a blank at a very obvious movie, the chaos that can erupt is definitely worth the price of admission alone. But I still gotta make an interesting video here, so time to go super analytical and act like all the little nitpicks I have with this game are more prevalent than they actually are for the sake of entertainment. Firstly, it's the 21st century. We as a society should have figured out how to give buzzers better audio quality than this. There isn't much to critique about the mechanics of the game, but there is plenty to say about the movies printed on the cards. Now obviously there were only so many movie cards they could include, and some of my personal favorites weren't gonna make the cut, but I still think it might be interesting to take a look at some of the stranger selections, or at least the ones that stood out to me. That said, not all the categories really have anything that stands out. Comedy, sci-fi and fantasy, drama, those all have the exact kind of movies you'd expect. For the genres that are left, you have stuff like Rocky being in action. Yes, I know there's boxing, but it still clearly suits drama or all-time classics more. And speaking of all-time classics, you got your normal suspects. Godfather, Citizen Kane, Singing in the Rain, Casablanca. Why is Casablanca not categorized as an all-time classic? While I'm here, I'd like to point out that Beauty and the Beast is also here. For some reason, that science has yet to conclude. Why isn't this with the other animated features? Is it because of the black and white version released in 1946? Look me dead in the eye and tell me the first thing you think of when the name Beauty and the Beast comes up isn't the Disney film. The good Disney film! I don't have a lot to say about this. I just wanted to know if anyone actually talks about The Omen anymore. Yo, Roman Polanski movie. It's no surprise to see a 007 movie here, but the one they chose was Goldfinger, the third in the series. Now, I'm not a James Bond guy, I've never seen any of the movies, but of all the Bond films to choose, why wouldn't you just choose the first one? And what makes this one a more fitting pick than GoldenEye or Casino Royale? Bond fans, you would know more than someone just looking up a list of films on Wikipedia. Is Goldfinger the ultimate Jimmy Link movie, or is it as weird as I assume it is? Nice to see Slumdog Millionaire here, but how could they have messed this up? Jesus Christ! Slumdog Millionaire! You know, a movie containing massive violence, underage exotic dancing, and a kid getting his eyes melted to complete blindness so he could get bigger donations while begging on the street, all for the sake of appeasing a man running a child trafficking scheme. Perfect family entertainment. But if there was one category I think they dropped the ball on completely, it would be animation. It's just like the Oscars animated category. All Disney and Pixar. Then Shrek is also here. I'm really not exaggerating that either. Of the 25 cards here, only 4 aren't from Disney or Pixar. I am not joking. Ice Age, Kung Fu Panda, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and the Funny Green Man. Not to say having Disney films included is an inherent issue, of course, but still, no Coraline, Iron Giant, How to Train Your Dragon, Prince of Egypt, Kubo and the Two Strings, The Land Before Time, Rango, Watership Down, Clouded with a Chance of Meatball, Secret of Nim, the Lego Movie, and not a single Ghibli film. And it's not even like all the Disney films included are must-haves. The Emperor's New Groove is in here, but you know what is? Tarzan. I am a huge fan of animated movies, and there was just so much missed potential here. You know, Shrek is still here, so what am I really complaining about? And as I said before, practically everything there was extremely nitpicky, and who cares if 1 or 2 cards seem like off inclusions to me? The base formula is still rock solid, so that's really what matters most here. Well, if there is one more thing of note, it does get less interesting the more you play. Like I said before, there are only 25 cards in each genre. Now, 200 in total, not counting the head-to-head cards, sounds like a lot. And don't get me wrong, it is, but you're encouraged to go through as many cards as possible in one game just to get all 8 categories. Unless you're playing with new groups of people constantly, it runs the risk of getting stale. What this game needs is an expansion pack. A pack that can give us a lot more cards, but unfortunately, that just doesn't exist. Oh. Blockbuster Returns released in 2020, this time coming in a cardboard box meant to resemble sleeve-style VHS cases. Again, absolutely perfect. Inside we get a brand new board, minus the sign, and a fresh set of cards. More head-to-head cards, and 4 new genres. Not for kids, remakes and reboots, heartwarmers, and from another world. In order of how much they make sense to me. More on that later. I'm gonna say it right off the bat. I think they should have focused more on adding new movies to the pre-existing genres and had the extra categories as a bonus. If anything, having to collect 12 genres instead of 8 now makes the problem of the game getting stale even worse because of how many more rounds one game will go for. But hey, let's give this pack a proper shot. Maybe these new categories are all that you really need. Okay, on a very, very small note, these just combine different colors of the base game cards. I was hoping one of these cards would be colored vermilion and my highest of hopes have been shattered. On a much bigger note, these categories kinda blow. Now, I'll be fair here and say at least Not For Kids is serviceable. It wouldn't be my first pick for a new genre, but all the cards fit the category well. But, anybody gonna tell them that, no, we're just gonna leave that? Okay then. With remakes and reboots, well, you often run into at least one of 2 issues here. These movies are either bad or nobody talks about them. Often it's both. One thing I forgot to mention is that the box claims that all the movies included were from the past 10 years. So this means that all the movies would have been released within the 2010s, maybe 2009 at the earliest considering development time. And that's relevant for stuff like Freaky Friday and The Mummy. Now, the versions I immediately thought of were the Jamie Lee Curtis and Brendan Fraser films respectively, and Those are indeed reboots in their own right, so I assume those were the versions referenced on these cards, but if we take what's said on the box literally, that means that we're talking about the Freaky Friday that nobody's heard of, and the infamous Tom Cruise mummy that was so bad that it failed to launch an entire cinematic universe. Garbage. Ah yes, the Fantastic Four, the group of superheroes who've never had a good movie ever. And who can forget the masterpiece known as the Les Miserables movie adaptation. Okay, real talk, I've never seen the Les Mis movie, but
to the whirlpool of my sin.
I've never seen any compelling reason to either. There's straight up movies I've never heard of in here, like The A-Team. I knew that was a show, but since when was there an A-Team movie? Well, a quick jaunt over to Google and I think I know why I never heard of it. And stuff like Point Break. My immediate thought was, since when was Point Break a remake? It's not even an adaptation of anything. Where do you get off? At least Sonic's here. Heartwarmers sounded pretty straightforward on the offset. I expected it to be filled with romantic stories and movies that are infamous for being tearjerkers or ultra feel-good, but that's only kinda what it is. It's more so a random grab bag of movies and a second animated category combined. I don't know about you, but when I think of heartwarming movies, I don't think about Fantastic Beasts, Alice in Wonderland, The Smurfs, Despicable Me, or the goddamn Angry Birds movie. There's also some more mislabeled movies, like with Zootopia being called Zootropolis. I don't know why I slipped into this accent. See, Zootopia is actually called this in the UK because of, I believe, copyright reasons, so this was probably a mistake stemming from Big Potato Games being mainly based in the UK as far as I know. But in the base game, the first Harry Potter movie is called The Sorcerer's Stone, the renamed American name when the original and UK title was The Philosopher's Stone. So I guess there just are no rules anymore. Plus, those bastards didn't put the in The Secret Life of Pets. They've clearly run out of excuses. However, their worst misnaming offense came in the form of this. How to Train Your Pet Dragon. How to Train Your Pet Dragon. How to Train. And I looked into it. The movie was never released under this title in any major English-speaking country. Not even the books had this pet part in it. Why did they add this? But yeah, can you see why I said this was sort of a second animated category? It's like they were making up for lost time, and while I have major respect for selections like the Lego and SpongeBob movie, there's still plenty of Disney and Pixar stuff. Wait a minute. Rewind? The SpongeBob movie came out in 2004. That definitely was not 10 years ago. What was that just a fluke? Were they lying about all the movies being from the past 10 years? Is the simulation crumbling? Are the Illuminati bird people finally taking over? I mean, I prepared for this, but like, I didn't expect it to happen so soon. And I also noticed some doubles in here. Paddington and Tangled were already in the base pack. Oops. Could I kill a man? Could I kill a man? I just straight up don't understand this category. In any capacity. I have looked over this entire set of cards at least two times, and I still cannot understand whatever the frick from another world means. Any ideas I came up with were contradicted almost immediately while looking through the deck. You'd most likely notice how many superhero movies there are. Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Martian, you know, the most iconic heroes of our time. Well, maybe it's sci-fi. That would be in line with the name. Nope. The Hobbit is nope. That's definitely not it. Nope. Okay, maybe the From Another World thing references all of these films being from established works, whether they be book adaptations, sequels, or I give up. Megamind is not based on any specific series, ergo there is no concrete theme with any of these movies, ergo I take back what I said about Heartwarmers being a grab bag of movies. 10 points to whoever can tell me what District 9, Inception, and the Lego Batman movie have to do with each other.
Side notes!
It feels insulting to have Into the Spider-Verse be categorized with stuff like Suicide Squad and Man of Steel. That just ain't right. Also, there's a
Hyphen between spider and man.
You ruined it! End of side notes!
last thing of note. The pack as a whole just feels pretty unpolished and, dare I say, rushed? And when I say that it feels unpolished, I don't mean it literally feels unpolished. I mean, when I play with and look at the stuff in the pack, the whole thing just seems half-baked. I could talk about the multitude of printing errors I saw, from the cards not being centered correctly or the colors being off, but to be fair, mileage probably varies between copies. But then you got this stuff that's more inherently flawed. I mentioned the repeated movies and misnamed titles, but you also have stuff like all the Twilight movies being labeled under the Twilight Saga name, despite every other movie card using a title for one specific movie if it's in a series. And seriously, if you were only gonna have 4 new categories, why these ones? Why not documentaries, musicals, gloriously bad films? And even within the ones you had, why is Detective Pikachu a heartwarmer but Sonic's a reboot? The Shape of Water is a literal romance movie, but that's not a heartwarmer? And from what little I understand of From Another World, I feel like Ready Player One works infinitely better there than in Heartwarmer. Seriously, who watched that film and their immediate thought was, oh, that was such a heartwarming story. And you have less cards being made here, so why are there more noticeable problems here than in the first game, which had over 250 in total? Actually, I've been referring to this as if it's an expansion pack, but that's not necessarily how it advertises itself. It also acts like it can work as its own standalone game. Why? On its own, Blockbuster Returns only has about half of the content and a worse batch of films to guess. And if you're wondering if it can be justified as a drastically cheaper alternative, at this point in time, it's only $7 cheaper. Pay that much extra and you have 4 more categories, a better board, and a physical buzzer. Yeah, you don't even get one if you only have Returns, you have to use a smartphone app. You know, if anything, they could have made Returns even less expensive if they didn't make the board and smartphone app. Well, that's enough irrational ranting about a board game for one day. To wrap everything up, I definitely would recommend the base game. It is great fun, but in terms of Blockbuster Returns, I mean, I'm not gonna stop you, but the only way I really recommend this is as an expansion pack after having played this a good few times. This may be a good way to spice things up, but at the very least, I do not recommend this as its own. It just works better as an expansion pack. Hey, you're being invaded by Editing Finn from the future. Now, this video has taken a while to make, and what I didn't realize while I was scripting and filming this outro was that about a couple months ago, Big Potato Games actually released a new Blockbuster game called Blockbuster and Chill. For the most part, it's pretty separate from the regular Blockbuster game. It's just sort of a 2-player spin-off, but interestingly enough, it does add a new category to the board. That's cool and all, and does imply that Big Potato Games does want to continue support for the Blockbuster game, but it does kind of contradict what I'm about to say here. I don't want to have to go through the effort of refilming this outro, so just know I didn't know about Blockbuster and Chill when I said what I'm about to say. Yeah. I'm stupid. I doubt we'll get anything more for the Blockbuster game. It probably has run its course on the market. But on the off chance we do, and on the even offer chance somebody from Big Potato Games is watching, put Scott Pilgrim vs. the World on one of the movie cards. Play me out, buzzer!